And we're looking ahead to the Colts. And if the Colts make one move, this will be a very frustrating game for the Vikings. But if they stay with the status quo, the Vikings should roll.
And I think I indicated this in my too early prediction, but maybe I'm wrong. Is that move at the position of quarterback for the Colts?
Anthony Richardson, I'm telling you, this guy has all the physical talent in the world. But he's been injured. He missed all but 5 games, I think, last year, and he's kind of been in and out a little bit this year. But yeah, he's not panning out. What was he, the 4th overall pick last year?
He's really high. Yeah, I know that.
Like he's not panning out, and it's a tough spot because the Colts keep rolling with him, but I think that might be one of those, like, we can't bench this guy so soon. The Panthers had enough guts to do it with Bryce Young, but I don't know. That it kind of seems like one of those, maybe ownership is like, hey, we put a lot of stock into this one guy, high first-round pick. He's got to be the guy. Otherwise, we got to start over.
He was 4th overall a year ago. You are correct. Interestingly enough, he took a play off this week. Like, he came off the field and said, I'm tired, I need a break. And like, you can't do that when you're the starting quarterback in the NFL. That's just not how it works,
especially a quarterback who's known for his athleticism. And listen, I am the last human in the world to be criticizing somebody for their athletic abilities. I would need a 3-day break to recover from a 100-yard dash. I get that. But he is an athletic, first-round, high-profile quarterback. And I mean, I think of Matt Stafford. Have we all seen that crazy, it's a handful of years old now, but that video that's like 3 minutes long and it's uncut and it's just him like throwing a pass and then getting hit and his like shoulders like falling out of itself and he goes to the sideline.
I think he was like mic'd up that game too, and he's like, I think he got smacked in the ribs. I think he had bruised ribs. I think his shoulder was bothering him, and
he's like screaming in pain, and either the Lions called a timeout or the other team did. Something happened, and he's like, I can go back in. Am I allowed to go back in? I can throw. And he runs back out. We need to find that video and link it, because I'm not a Lions fan, obviously, but still, that 2-3 minute video is like, holy crap.
Maybe we should just find it and we'll just picture it right here, because as much as we don't like the Lions, man, that was a gutsy performance. And we don't like the Rams either, because he plays for the Rams now. But
all that to say, Matt Stafford was like in agony and doesn't even miss a play, and I think comes out and throws like a 2-yard touchdown. And then I think it won the game. I think that was the end of that game. It's a beautiful 2-minute video, 3-minute video. But I think of that, and then I think of this young 20-something-year-old quarterback who's known for his athleticism to be like, I was tired, so I had to take a play off. Like, what? Can you imagine being his teammate? I'm tired too, man.
It's not I'm tired, because the kid played how many college football games and probably didn't make a move like that. It was probably like, I'm not playing up to my standard. Things aren't going my way. So I'm just going to quit for a minute, and then I'll come back when I feel ready, I
did see a tweet somebody posted out. That it's like, that's really weird. So it's either he's like telling the truth and he was really tired and that's super embarrassing, or he lied and would rather lie and say I'm tired because the real reason was even more embarrassing. And I don't know what could be more embarrassing, but that's just crazy. That's where you lose a locker room. Like I think of like bosses I've had in the past and stuff, and if they pull stuff like that, now granted, my boss isn't going to take a seat because they're tired and it's going to make me, upset, but something like that, you lose faith in your leadership, and that's not what you want to do on a tough season so far.
Yeah, agreed. keys to victory for the Vikings in this one against the Colts. This game got flexed into Sunday Night Football, and I heard somebody say today that Sunday Night Football is arguably the best slot in football in terms of entertainment value, in terms of like market share, exposure, all that stuff. So it's kind of a big deal that this game was flexed out of the noon slot on Sunday and into this Sunday Night Football slot. Yeah. Keys to victory under the primetime lights.
Yeah, well, and it was flexed before this 2-game loss and injury to your Pro Bowl left tackle.
But don't they have to do that too? Don't they
there's
have
a
to
certain
give
amount of
teams
time.
Enough of a notice to prepare?
Yeah, and even like fans, if you're flying somewhere to go to a game, like you got to know. But this key to victory, I'm going to keep saying it, kind of like I keep giving Will Riker the special teams game ball until he misses a kick. I'm going to keep saying this until it stops. The Vikings need to stop slumping in the middle of the game.
Yes.
Make the whole game scripted if you have to, because whenever they get past that 15 play script or whatever they do, maybe we're way off on that, but whenever it feels like they get past that script, they just disappear for a while and then usually kind of figure something out. But stop that. Keep the foot on the gas pedal and beat the crap out of teams. Like I said a handful of episodes, punch them in the face. Like, just win. Yep. Stop stopping.
well, and if there's a script of 15 plays, can you come up with a script of 30 plays or 50 plays or 60 plays that are just locked and loaded, ready to go? And does that mean that your practices have to be 3 hours long or 4 hours long instead of whatever? Like, you're professional athletes, you're being paid millions of dollars to go out and do this. Figure it out.
And I think that whole idea that's all on KOC. And really, I mean, Wes Phillips and, all the other guys. But KOC's
the backstop to it all.
And he's the play caller. And, I mean, it's just got to be about trust and knowing, hey, if you say that this play is going to work, then it's going to work because you are the play designer. I don't know. We obviously have no inside information, and we're just a couple of dudes drinking beer talking about football. But they got to do better. They got to stop the slump.
Yeah, agreed. I think another key to victory is getting back to their identity on defense. And hopefully Cashman's back. I know it's not looking great right now. But even if he's not back, they got to figure out something. They've got to find someone else to be that quarterback on defense, and to get after things. And I don't think it matters who's under center for the Colts. I think you have to put pressure on the quarterback, and you got to be able to stop the run specifically. I think you've got to plug the holes in the middle and not allow those backs to get out. Another thing I've seen a lot of, and I didn't see a lot of this in the first 5 games, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I saw a lot more zone in the last 2 weeks. A lot of just sit back, wait, see what happens, and then respond, rather than the super aggressive, let's put 9 guys on the line and let's just make everybody's life miserable. Let's get to the quarterback faster than he can get rid of the ball. Or let's, sniff out these screen passes and Andrew Van Ginkel get 2 pick sixes, which is amazing. Like, instead of that, we've seen this, like, all right, we're gonna drop back, we're gonna sit back, we're gonna play these zones, and we're just gonna let the offense come to us. And I think against the Lions and the Rams, that burned them a lot, because both Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford read that zone and they just go, all right, you're going to play that. You're going to be a little more comfortable on defense and not as aggressive. Well, I've got this guy coming across the middle and I'm just going to dump it off to him. Or I've got this guy out in the flat over here, guaranteed first down right here. I don't need the big 70-yarder down the field. I'm just going to keep getting a first down after first down after first down. I'm going to march down and I'm going to score 3 or 4 touchdowns on you and put this game away. Yeah. And that's what both of those quarterbacks did. And so I think they've got to get back to this identity of this like kamikaze kind of defense. Like, we're going to just blow the hat off of you if we need to. We're going to put 11 guys on the line if we need to. and we're just gonna make your life miserable from the get-go.
Yeah. And even I totally agree with you, because as you were saying that, I was forming a thought, and then you said the thought about Jared Goff and Matt Stafford both being like zone beaters. And you can go back to the game against the Jets. The Jets receivers dropped a few passes, and there were a couple of Rodgers passes that were just outside of reach. But I think if Rodgers and his receivers had been more on the same page, that would have been a tougher game than it already was for the Vikings too, because Rodgers is another zone beater as well. That's why the Packers beat the Vikings and everybody else for so many years when Rodgers was there. Yeah, I think the zone, you've hit the nail on the head. The zone defense is a weakness for this Vikings team, mostly when they've shown that they can't get home to the quarterback. That's the big difference.
And they didn't get home against either of those two quarterbacks, the Lions or the Rams. Mm-hmm. And it's been a frustrating 2 weeks of football for the Vikings defense. They have to get that figured out. And I think these quarterback concerns with the Colts should be like, all right, let's go. Mm-hmm. They should be licking their chops a little bit. And I don't know much about the Colts offensive line. I'm assuming they're not great.
I mean, they got Quentin Nelson, and he's maybe the best interior offensive lineman in the NFL. But outside of that, I don't really know either. I do know, if I had to guess which quarterback on the Colts is more of a zone beater, whether it's Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson, I'd guess it's got to be Joe Flacco. Yeah. That's why I'm really hoping the Colts stubbornly stick with Anthony Richardson. Because I think if they announce Joe Flacco is going to play, or if they bench Richardson early, it's going to be another tough game for the Vikings.
I will say the Colts was an honorable mention to my list of teams that I'm glad I'm not a fan of.
And that was the one I thought you were going to say when you ultimately said the Panthers.
Yeah, I know, because I said old man quarterback, and I think that's kind of what tipped you off to, it might be the Colts. But honestly, I think to some extent that's kind of an advantage to them at this point. As a team, maybe not as a fan base, because as a fan, I'd be like, who's gonna start? Yeah. What are we doing? Figure it out. Just name a starter. But I think when you're the coach and you kind of have that control over this other defense all the way through the week, and you don't know who you're preparing for until probably Thursday or Friday,
maybe even Sunday.
Maybe even Sunday, right? It's all right, now we got to prepare for two guys, and we've got more on our hands. And I think the advantage lies a little bit more in the Colts' favor that way. Mm-hmm. So,
speaking of being a Colts fan and being in that mindset, we know a Colts fan, and I think there's an opportunity maybe right after the Colts game for us to have a guest on the show. If you're interested. I think that's in the works a little bit.
For sure. We can make that happen. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. I guess another key to victory is you just got to stop the run. The Vikings have been statistically abysmal against the pass, but for the first handful of games, that was because teams had to try to ball out and throw a bunch of yards and try to win against the Vikings. But the last couple of games, just because the other teams have been really good on the pass game and the rush game. But you got to stop Jonathan Taylor. He's the most well-known, consistently good player on the Colts offense. And a good running game can really break a game for the other team, and that should be their first thing to stop is Jonathan Taylor.
Definitely agreed. All right, I'm going to give you my too early prediction here, and we kind of agree, but we also kind of disagree on this. I think the Vikings win.
Okay.
First of all, and I think that, let me go back to this here really quick just to make sure. Yeah, that is in line with my preseason pick.
Okay.
I think the Vikings beat the Colts. That was my preseason pick. I think they beat the Colts 31-17 with the caveat that Anthony Richardson plays most of the time.
Okay.
Most of the time. And again, we know that Anthony Richardson is prone to taking plays off every now and then.
At least one.
And we've also seen Joe Flacco start, 2 games now this season for the Colts. So the quarterback situation is very much in limbo, more than it's ever been, maybe, after this last week.
And their coach today answered a reporter question about that and basically said, we're going to look at all options.
Yeah.
And not Richardson's our guy. It was, we're going to evaluate everything.
I think he's playing chess, not checkers there. We're in the poker game, and he's not going to show his hand. He's not going to give any tell. He's going to wait until the last possible moment to give any sort of lead to the Vikings defense.
And I think that's kind of a rock and a hard place thing, because maybe the coach is like, we got to move on. But the owner, Jim Irsay, a very vocal and loud owner, this is pure speculation, but maybe he's behind the scenes like, no, I paid a lot for this guy. We're gonna force it. He's gonna be okay. And maybe the coach doesn't have the power that he should. Again, I'm totally guessing, but I could see that situation happening.
I think the Vikings win handily, 31-17, if Anthony Richardson is the starter and plays most of the time. That's my caveat.
So I didn't write that caveat down, but I pretty much assumed that. So again, if Richardson is the guy most of the game or all the game, I think the Vikings win. I think it's more like 24-17, just because we got to expect that mid-game offensive slump for the Vikings. But I looked it up earlier. I'm pretty sure the Vikings have scored 20 or more points in every game so far this season. So they're going to do a little bit better against the Colts than just 20 points. And I think they pull out the win. No, it will not be 39-36 Vikings like that greatest comeback in NFL history, which is going to be the storyline for everybody else, leading up to the game. And it's something at least I bring up to friend of the show, Brian, quite a bit. But and
you are correct. The Vikings have scored 20 or more points in every game. This last game against the Rams was their lowest, 20 exactly. So
the offense has the juice. I mean, you got to think 20 is not a small amount of points in the NFL. Like, usually you score 20 points, you're at least in the game.
Yep. And they were in the game, and we've already talked about it. They were in the game.
We say goodbye to that, Evan.
I know. I'm just pointing out the fact here. All right. Well, we both have the Vikings winning now. You predicted a Vikings loss in your preseason picks. So it'll come down to...
You know what? If I have to spin the wheel, one, it's because the Vikings won, and that's good with me, right?
Yep.
Two, I feel like we've gotten rid of most of the worst ones.
Yeah, the worst ones are really off the wheel at this point. I mean, I'm looking down here at the Purple Pantry. There's still the wax a body part.
Oh, yeah.
So
that'll be funny. I just kind of want to see that happen for either one of us. Or I hope we both land on that one time. I forgot about that.
Well, so I was looking at our picks. So you have the Colts losing in your preseason picks. I have them winning. Then the following week, you have the Vikings winning against the Jags. I have them losing. And then we don't have a similar pick until the Vikings at Titans in week 11.
Oh, man.
So it's going to be a few more weeks of this back and forth. Only one of us will have to suffer the consequences of the wheel.
But we're guaranteed, 3 weeks in a row? One of us has to.
Yep. So we had the Cinnamon Challenge with you tonight, and then next week, one of us will have to do it, and the following week, one of us will have to do it.
But I feel like the rest of them, I know you're dreading the jalapenos, and I get that, but... I'm not super dreading really any of them unless I'm thinking about missing some of them. I feel like we've gotten rid of all the worst ones.
Some of them will just be a little messy, like getting a pie in the face.
So I have a beard, and it's not like an award-winning beard, but it's enough that a pie in the face would really ruin my episode.
You're a Hall of Famer in my book.
Well, thanks, man.